A poor cleaner's trembling voice stopped the wedding of the year and changed a millionaire's life forever. The church bells rang across the city that bright spring morning, their echoes rolling through cobblestone streets and bouncing off glass towers in the downtown district. People paused to listen. Some smiled, others whispered. Everyone knew what those bells meant. It was the wedding of the year. Outside the Cathedral of St. Helena, luxury cars lined the streets. Chauffeurs opened polished doors as women stepped out in silk gowns and men straightened their tuxedos. Photographers crowded the sidewalks, their cameras clicking furiously each time a celebrity or business mogul crossed the red-carpeted stairs. Inside, the cathedral glowed. Chandeliers glittered above. Flowers worth tens of thousands of dollars spilled from gilded vases, and rows of cushioned seats filled quickly with society's elite. They had gathered to watch Damian Hale, one of the city's youngest and most admired millionaires, marry Vivienne Cross, the glamorous daughter of a powerful family. People whispered about the match for months, his fortune, her beauty, the merging of two dynasties. Today, it would all be sealed before God and the world. But hidden behind the marble pillars, in a plain gray uniform and scuffed shoes, stood someone no one noticed. Isabella Moretti. She was 56, with kind brown eyes and hands marked by decades of labor. She had spent most of her life cleaning banquet halls, offices, and churches. To the glittering crowd, she was invisible, just another cleaner, moving silently with her mop and bucket, her back bent in quiet service. This morning, Isabella had been hired by the planners to polish the cathedral until the marble floors gleamed like mirrors. She worked without complaint, wiping every seat, checking every aisle, ensuring everything sparkled for the wealthy guests who would never know her name. But Isabella wasn't just any cleaner that day. She carried a secret that tied her to the groom, Damian Hale, and one that could destroy the perfect image of this golden wedding before it even began. Damian Hale was not the kind of man born into money, though now he stood at the top of international business circles. His childhood was marked by hardship, raised by a single mother in a cramped apartment. He knew what it was to go to bed hungry, to wear shoes with holes in the soles, to watch his mother scrub floors late into the night just to keep food on the table. Those memories never left him. Even as billions flowed into his accounts, Damian remained driven not by luxury, but by loyalty. He trusted deeply, valued honesty fiercely, and dreamed of building a family rooted in love, the one thing money could never buy. When he met Vivienne Cross, she seemed like an answer to those dreams. With her beauty, charm, and sophistication, she dazzled every room she entered. To outsiders, they looked perfect together, the self-made millionaire and the radiant socialite. The media adored them. Investors praised the union. But what no one saw was the other side of Vivienne. Behind her polished smile lay sharp arrogance. She had a way of looking at waiters, drivers, and cleaners as though they were furniture rather than people. To those she considered beneath her, her words were often cruel. No one knew this better than Isabella Moretti. Whenever Isabella worked at events where Vivienne was present, she became a target for mockery. Vivienne would smirk at her worn shoes, wrinkle her nose at Isabella's simple accent, or throw careless remarks about her age. "Do you ever get tired of smelling like bleach?" she once said in front of other staff, sending them into uneasy laughter. Isabella endured it all. She kept her head down, telling herself it was just part of her job. But each word left a scar she carried silently. And then came the morning of the wedding, the morning when Isabella overheard something she was never meant to hear. It was still early when Isabella wheeled her cart down the corridor near the bridal suite. Her mop dripped faintly on the polished tiles, the sound echoing in the silence. She thought the suite was empty, but then a voice, sharp, hushed. "Vivienne." Isabella froze. She pressed herself against the wall, listening as Vivienne spoke on the phone, her tone cold, almost venomous. "Don't worry," Vivienne hissed. "Once I'm married, Damian's money is as good as ours. He's too blinded by love to see the truth. Just make sure the accounts are ready when I call. I won't waste my life on a man who actually believes in fairy tales." Isabella's chest tightened. Her hand trembled against the mop handle. It was no joke. Vivienne wasn't marrying Damian for love. She was marrying him for his wealth. Isabella's thoughts raced. She was just a cleaner, invisible to these people. Who would believe her word against a woman like Vivienne Cross, daughter of power and privilege? If she spoke, she risked humiliation, even blacklisting from the only work that kept food on her table. But if she stayed silent, Damian would walk into ruin, betrayed by the woman he trusted most. Her conscience twisted, fear battled against courage. And in the midst of her turmoil, one memory surfaced. Months earlier, Damian Hale himself had stopped by the cathedral during one of Isabella's shifts. She remembered clearly. Instead of walking past her like every other guest, he had paused, smiled warmly, and offered her a bottle of water. "What's your name?" he had asked. "Isabella," she'd whispered, almost too shy to answer. He had nodded, as though her name mattered, as though she mattered. That small act of kindness, from a man of wealth and power to someone invisible, had stayed with her. It warmed her heart still. And now, as the bells rang and guests filled the cathedral, Isabella felt her heart pound with dread. She knew what she must do. When the priest asked if anyone had reason this couple should not be wed, she would find her voice. The grand organ thundered through the cathedral as the ceremony began. Guests rose to their feet, their designer shoes clicking softly on the polished marble. At the back, Isabella Moretti's heart pounded so hard she feared someone would hear it. She clutched an envelope of documents the wedding planner had given her delivered at the right moment. Just another errand for the invisible cleaner. But in her other hand, she held something far heavier. Courage. The doors opened. Vivienne Cross appeared in her gown, breathtaking in lace and diamonds. Gasps rose from the crowd. Photographers' flashes lit up the vaulted ceiling. Her smile was flawless. Her every step down the aisle rehearsed perfection. At the altar, Damian Hale waited, his face glowing with nervous joy. He looked at Vivienne as though she were the only person in the world. Isabella's chest tightened. She wanted to scream the truth, to shake him awake. But her knees trembled, her palms slick with fear. The priest's voice rang out, deep and solemn. "If anyone here knows of a reason this couple should not be joined in holy matrimony, speak now, or forever hold your peace." The cathedral fell silent. Seconds stretched into eternity. And then Isabella stepped forward. Her voice shook, but carried across the marble halls. I cannot stay silent." Gasps erupted. Heads turned. The crowd stared at her cleaner, in her plain gray uniform, standing at the altar with trembling hands. Vivienne's eyes widened in fury. Damian frowned in confusion. "Who are you to interrupt this?" Vivienne snapped, her voice sharp as broken glass. Isabella's throat burned, but she forced herself to speak. "My name is Isabella Moretti. I was cleaning near the bridal suite this morning. I heard you, Miss Cross. I heard what you said, that once you were married, Damian's money would be yours, that he was too blinded by love to see the truth." The words hung in the air like thunder. The guests erupted into whispers. Shock rippled through the cathedral. Is she serious? Why would a cleaner lie? Surely this can't be true. Vivienne's face turned pale, then flushed scarlet. She stepped forward, her diamond necklace catching the light like a blade. "How dare you?" she screamed. "This bitter old woman is lying. She's jealous of me, of everything I have." Her words cut through the air, sharp and furious. But Isabella did not move. Tears welled in her eyes, yet her voice held steady. "I have nothing to gain by speaking, Miss Cross, but I could not let him marry you without knowing the truth." She turned to Damian. "Months ago, you showed me kindness when no one else even saw me. You treated me like a human being. I could not stay silent while you walked into betrayal." The cathedral hushed again. All eyes turned to Damian Hale. He stared at Vivienne, confusion clouding his features. "Vivienne," he said softly, his voice breaking, "tell me this isn't true." For the first time, cracks showed in Vivienne's polished mask. She faltered, her lips trembling. "Damian, darling, of course it isn't true. She's making this up. She's trying to ruin us." But her voice was too sharp, her panic too raw. And in that silence, Damian remembered the countless small signs he had ignored, the way she dismissed waiters with a flick of her hand, the sharpness in her tone whenever he mentioned charity, the emptiness in her compliments, always about his wealth, never his heart. He saw it all now, pieces falling into place. And he knew. Damian's chest heaved as he looked at Vivienne, his once bright eyes dimmed with sorrow. "Was any of it real?" he whispered. Vivienne reached for him, desperate. "Darling, don't let her lies ruin us." But he pulled back. His jaw tightened. His voice, steady and clear, rang out across the cathedral. "This wedding is canceled." The word struck like a thunderclap. Gasps erupted. Some guests covered their mouths. Others sat frozen in disbelief. Cameras flashed wildly as the scandal of the century unfolded before them. Vivienne screamed, her fury echoing through the arches. "You'll regret this, Damian. You'll regret humiliating me." She ripped off her veil, tossed her bouquet to the floor, and stormed down the aisle. The doors slammed behind her, leaving silence in her wake. All eyes shifted back to Damian. But instead of crumbling under shame, he turned toward Isabella. She stood trembling, tears spilling down her cheeks. She half expected guards to drag her out, half expected Damian to curse her name. But instead he stepped forward. His eyes softened, his voice lowered. "You gave me the truth," he whispered. And in that moment, Isabella broke down, her sobs echoing softly in the cathedral that had witnessed everything. For once, her voice had mattered. The wedding that was supposed to unite dynasties dissolved into chaos. Guests whispered in clusters, some scandalized, others admiring Damian's strength. Photographers rushed outside, eager to catch Vivienne storming into the rain, her gown dragging like torn silk across the steps. But inside the cathedral, Damian remained beside Isabella. She wiped her tears with trembling fingers, feeling the weight of every eye on her. She had expected humiliation, perhaps even punishment, but not this, not gratitude. Damian gently placed a hand on her shoulder. "You were braver than anyone here today. Thank you." Isabella lowered her gaze, embarrassed. I couldn't let you walk into a lie." He smiled faintly. "Truth matters more than appearances. My mother taught me that long ago." For a moment, the chaos outside seemed to fade. The cathedral stood still, as though the bells themselves waited in reverence for what had just happened. One woman's courage rewriting the course of Millionaire's life. By nightfall, the story had spread across the globe. Wedding of the year shattered by shocking revelation. One headline read, "Cleaner exposes bride's betrayal at the altar." Another declared, "Vivienne Cross became the subject of ridicule, her carefully curated image crumbling overnight." Talk shows replayed Isabella's trembling words, while social media erupted with praise for the woman who dared to speak truth to power. "Who is Isabella Moretti?" strangers asked. And soon the world knew. For Isabella, the days that followed felt unreal. Strangers reached out, offering gratitude, jobs, even friendship. People she had never met called her a hero. For a woman who had spent her life invisible, it was overwhelming. But for Damian Hale, the impact went deeper. His canceled wedding could have been a scandal that ruined him. Instead, it became a story of integrity, of a man who chose truth over appearances, thanks to the courage of one cleaner. A week later, Isabella stood once more inside the cathedral, this time not with mop and bucket, but as a guest of honor. Damian had invited her to meet with him privately, and though nervous, she accepted. He greeted her not as a millionaire to a servant, but as an equal. "I owe you more than thanks," he said. "You saved me, not just from a false marriage, but from losing myself. I want to honor that." Isabella shook her head. "I don't need anything, sir. I only did what was right." "That's exactly why I insist," Damian replied gently. He unveiled his plan. The Moretti Foundation, a charitable organization dedicated to helping underprivileged women gain education, skills, and dignity in work. And he wanted Isabella to lead it. Her breath caught. "Me? But I'm just a cleaner." Damian's eyes softened. "You're not just anything. You're the woman who had the courage to speak when no one else would. If anyone understands dignity, it's you." Tears blurred her vision. For the first time in decades, Isabella felt truly seen. As she stood there, the cathedral bathed in golden light, The memory of that morning echoed in her mind, the bells ringing, the silence before her voice, the moment everything changed. On that bright morning, under the arches of St. Helena, Isabella Moretti had saved a millionaire's future. But more than that, she had found her own.